Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So today we're going to be doing a how to play of the new Wildhearts TCG. This is a Kickstarter TCG that's going live January 7th. We all know how exceptionally well that Kickstarter TCGs do. These games are always really sought after. A lot of these Kickstarter rewards are also always highly coveted. So if you're interested, definitely check it out. I'll post links to the Wild Hearts Discord down below in a pinned comment, as well as some other great useful links. We're going to be using the Tabletopia simulator for this. I will leave a link for the mod as well in that pinned comment. So Wild Hearts uses a set of 4 different styles. So we have the Might, Special, Ferocity, and Tactics here. And kind of as the names imply, you can kind of get a general idea of what's going on here. And a typical guild game will be bidding for control of different fields to earn victory points, which was how you win. The cards look absolutely phenomenal. I love the art. I love the design of just like the general like layout of the card and how things look. I love the colors. Everything just pops so well. It just all looks really great. Can't wait to get some physical cards here. But I think the mod does a fantastic job here of showing off how great these look. Now, a typical game of Wild Hearts is a 1v1, but the game can be played as few as 1 players. Yes, there is a single player mode, as well as up to a 4-player Battle Royale mode. But for today's example, we're going to be doing this the standard 1v1 2-player game experience. Now, a deck is comprised of 30 cards, and then the cards you choose from will be based on your familiars here. Familiars are essentially your boss monsters of your deck, and depending on the ones you choose will determine which styles you can include in your deck. Now, you could have a double Might familiar list and include only Might cards or any of the others as well. But for the 2-player starter experience, we get one of 2 different styles here. So we get the Ferritune for special and the Chrism for Might. So our 30-card deck will have a combination of the 2. And our opponent will do the same. In addition to these cards, you'll also want to bring 2 fields to a game. And then in this case, we brought a High Wind Fall. So when scoring, the creature with the highest power in this field has +3. Since we were running the Chrism here with this massive 8 power, that's a great combination. As well as we have a Vanilla here with no special ability, but a very high victory point count that we can get off of it. Our opponent will do the same. Now, when determining who will go first here, you must decide which field to get rid of. So we will compare our total powers of our familiars together. So I have a 4 and an 8. So we have 12 versus our opponent's 4 and 3 for 7. I think I said 8. We have a 12 versus their 7 here. So the person with the lowest power then gets to decide which field to get rid of. So we're only going to be using 3 fields at a time. So they must decide which field to get rid of. They're going to decide to get rid of one of their own. So that way they can have the initiative token and be the first player to go. Now, once that is done, we will then stack up the 3 remaining fields, shuffle them together, and then lay them out 1, 2, and 3 here. So then we have our 3 fields that we're going to be fighting for control over. Each field, you can only have up to 4 allies, or 4 creatures, I should say. Allies versus familiars are different here. And that will, and then we will be basically at the end of a round, we'll add up all of our power, and whoever has the most power will then score that field and be awarded the victory points for that field. First player to 20 points will initiate the end of round procedures, and at the end of that round, the player that has the most victory points will win. Also, whoever or when the game reaches the end of round 4 will also initiate end of round procedures. So, say neither player got to 20 yet, but one has 17 and one has 15, then the person with 17 points would win. Also, if both players hit 20 points by the end of the round, say one has 21 and one has 20, the person with 21 would win. Now, if end of round procedures happen and both players are tied, you will then play an additional round until a round ends with one person with more victory points. So essentially like an overtime. So now that our fields are placed, we'll go ahead and draw our initial cards here. So a game begins with drawing 7 cards here. And then once you have your cards, you can then determine should you mulligan or not. If you do, you can choose to put your 7 cards back into your deck, shuffle it, and draw an additional new 7 cards. Very simple mulligan, nothing too crazy about it at all. So it is typically a good idea to kind of get a good spread of cards here. So we have a good spread of different costs here. We've got some 1 cost, 2 cost, we got a 3 cost here, a couple of those as well as we have a support. We also have we have a bunch of ally cards. We actually have all ally cards. In addition to ally cards, there are also what they call tamer cards. And those are going to be like your abilities, your power-ups, your special items, that sort of thing, that are basically, they have like a one use and then they're gone sort of thing. Kind of like your spell cards in other games or equipment, something like that. But your ally cards are going to be the ones that are going to be on the field fighting for control of the fields that are in play here. Now, once we have our cards, our opponent, since they have the initiative counter, they get to draw an additional card. So we'll have 8 cards for the beginning of the round. Basically, the initiative will always ensure that whoever has it at the beginning of a turn will get an additional card. On subsequent turns 2, 3, 4, whoever has the initiative token will draw 3 cards as opposed to 2 cards. So again, you'll always have 1 more card than your opponent if you have the initiative token during the draw steps. All right, so now we will next proceed to, we will place out our resource. So all these cards have different resource costs, so we will then need to choose what to place down as an additional resource. Now, the game has a special mechanic where you can only ever have in play 1 creature with a specific name and type here. So we have 2 of these Siltsunes here. So I think I will only ever need 1 in a second. Doesn't really do me as much good. So I'm going to place it as a resource here. Now, a different choice I could do would be to use this support here. So this card has a normal ally here. It has 4 power. It has an ongoing effect. Or I can choose to use it as my resource and gain it as a support here. So when we use it to play cards, we can get that additional effect here. So instead of placing it face down like we did the Siltsune, we're going to actually keep this face up so that we can see the support. You will always start with 1 free resource as well in the form of this inspiration here, and it has a one-time use, essentially support ability. As an action, you can flip this card face down to move a friendly creature. All right, so we have our 2 resources, and the game will, our opponent will do the same, and now we will commence round 1. So our opponent will place out their first creature here. They'll place out their Infernander, and it has a debut ability. So as soon as we play this card, or any cards that have a debut, you immediately activate those debuts. So if you're winning this field, gain +1 power. So we'll use this little marker here and give him a +1 power here. So now he is a 5 power creature. It will now be our turn here. I'm going to choose to put out my Chrism. Now, he has an ability of debut, gain block. So that cancel the next opposing effect that targets this creature, then lose block. Now, to mark that I have block, I'm going to place him sideways, exhaust him, tap him, the terminology you so choose. Now my opponent will then place out their Illusion here. Now Illusion's a really cool card. Debut, give an opposing creature in this field -1 power. You may move a friendly ally in this field. We don't have any allies yet, it's the beginning of the game, but this is a great time to use that block because our opponent's going to come in here and then they're going to attempt to put a -1 power on our creature, but our block will then stop that. All right, and you don't get to choose. It is the next opposing effect. So I couldn't choose to take that and block something else that I might consider more powerful later. It has to be the next effect. A creature can only have a negative up to whatever their power is. So I can never go below 0 power here. So I can have a -8 on me. Now, when gaining power, like the Infernander here, you can never go over +10. So his highest he can ever be is a 14. Okay, and then it is my turn again, so I will then place out my Ferrotoon here, which has a debut Seek X. So I can look at the top X amount of cards, put one in hand, and the rest at the bottom of the deck in any order. X is the number of friendly magic creatures in this field. He's the only one. So essentially, I get to seek one card, and then out of those one cards, add it to hand. So I'm just going to go ahead and essentially draw one card here because it's just a seek one, and then add one to hand. All right, now we're ready to start playing our turns. Now we need to determine which field is going to be inactive this round. So now we go over here to the judge's deck. We will draw one card here, flip it over, and that will tell us which card is inactive. So field 3 is inactive this round. So we'll go ahead and just place that there so that way we know that it is inactive. And now the round will commence. Our opponent will then choose to play cards or play one card. You get one action per turn. So now it is my turn. Now I get to choose to do one action. I've got the Silsunes here, but I can only ever have one in play at a time. Now, the Illusion for my opponent, they have a special rule. They get to ignore the unique rule. So they could play multiples of the same ally for themselves. But we do not have the Illusion, so we cannot do that. And that is the only one-cost cards I have. So I think instead, I'm going to go ahead and exhaust 2 resources here to play a 2-cost card instead. And I'm just going to go ahead and play my Tortu here. And it has a debut gain block as well, similar to our Chrism. So now he is protected a little bit. Now I had this support card that gave me speed. So that didn't count as an action. Now I can choose to say play another card if I had more resources. I can activate say our inspiration here as an action to move a creature, which is what I'm going to go ahead and do here. My Chrism not doing any good in this inactive field, so I'm going to use that one-time use and go ahead and move our Chrism over here. Now, Oliver's Inlet says when a creature moves to this field, gain +1 power. So our Chrism then would gain a bonus 1 power for moving to this field. So sometimes you can actually plan on that a little bit and then kind of do that accordingly and actually have that be your intent, your super spicy plays and such. And now it proceeds to my opponent's turn. They can as well do the play theirs as well. And now it's back to me that say they played a card. Now I've expended all my resources here. I don't have any other abilities that I can do. I'm going to choose to pass. And when I pass, now I get to take control of the initiative token. So that way I will be player 1 for the next round, as well as I will get to draw 3 cards instead of just the 2 cards for not having the initiative. And then my opponent will go, and then once they pass, once I've passed, I can't enter the turn order anymore. I'm completely out of it. My opponent can continue to go until they also run out of resources and things to do, and then they will pass, and then we'll hit the end of round procedures. So now we need to determine which fields are going to be scored. Well, we know which ones are going to be scored. We need to determine who's going to win them. So we'll look at this first one here. I've got 8 + 1, so 9 + 4. So I've got 13 power here to my opponent's 0 power. So I get to score this field, and this field gives me 3 victory points. So we'll go ahead and mark that I've got 3 victory points. Now we'll move on to the next field that's active. We've got this one. It has no special ability here, but it's worth a whopping 5. We'll then compare. I've got 5 power here versus my opponent's 4 plus 1, so they have 5 as well. We tie. Neither player will score this field. And then the last one down here is inactive, cannot be scored this round, and that is the end of round. We'll then go ahead and remove that. Our familiars now return back to the bench and say they had a negative detrimental effect on them, like a -1 power or -5 power or something crazy like that. That would get removed. However, if you have a bonus of a a positive effect, like a +1 or +10, something like that, you get to keep those. So, and this will also allow us to deploy them out again at the beginning of every round. So that way we can continue to, one, get their debut effects over and over, as well as we can move them around. They can go to, they can change where they went from the last time, which is really, really nice. We'll also go ahead and unexhaust our resources down here. I've got an initiative, so I'm going to go ahead and draw my 3 cards this round. And now I will decide, my opponent will draw theirs, and now we need to decide our resources here. Seeing if I have any doubles. I do have a double of this one here, so I'm going to use this as my resource this time. It does not have a support ability, so it will be placed face down as opposed to face up, like our one with support here. Our opponent will do the same. They'll place their resource, and then I have initiative, so I get the first place here. I'm going to go place my Chrism here. It debut gains block, so we'll go ahead and rest it. And then my Ferrotoon, I'll choose to place, or my opponent will then place theirs as well. They'll place, say they're there. We're tied here, so the Infernander will not get its ability. I'll then place out my Ferrotoon, which debuts Seek X, so I get to draw an additional card here, basically, because it's the only magic type I have. Now, at the end of the round, if I don't get rid of some of these cards, I can only have 7 cards, so I'd have to discard. And then our opponent will play out the Illusion. Again, that debut, -1 power, trying to strip our Chrism, which will get rid of its block. So become unsuspended there, and now it can be affected. And then we will once again draw from the judge's deck, now that all familiars have been deployed. And then this round, no field is inactive this round. So we're scoring all 3. And then just like the previous turn, we will then proceed back and forth, doing 1 action each at a time until both players have passed. Again, scoring the fields, and then a first player to 20, or we'll begin the first time a player hits 20, we'll begin the end of round procedures, as well as at the end of round 4, we'll begin end of round procedures. If tied, then you'll proceed to a 5th round, and so on and so forth. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please put it in the comments section below. Again, the Wildhearts TCG Kickstarter was going live January 7th, so pretty soon. Make sure you stay on top of this. Join the Discord, all that fun stuff. If you also have any questions while you're playing in the mod, you can come down here to the bottom left-hand corner, click this little page here, and it actually has a great little 2-page spread here of how to play the game, as well as like keywords, explaining how keywords work in case you're confused about something. A great breakdown, as well as, ask in the Discord. There's always people willing to play or willing to help and answer questions. It's just a great place to be. Yeah, come check out Wildhearts. I'm definitely gonna be playing a lot more of this.